What's up, everybody? James Michelle here, and I'm back at you with another video. Today's video is the review of Season 6, Episode 11 of The Walking Dead, entitled Knots Untie. This is a disclaimer. Will be a spoiler review. I won't go through every single plot point, but I will have some spoilers. And at the end of this video, I will put up a warning that I will be doing some comic book spoilers and some speculation of mine. Some of the foreshadowing that occurred in this episode. So to get started, as far as these calm down episodes that The Walking Dead has, they always have these excellent kind of season premieres and season finales, and then there's like in between, they're come down episodes, they're the calm before the storm, you could say. I would say these last two have been pretty good. This one especially, I think it was better than last week's episode, but this was a really good, I thought, setup episode. It had a lot of tension in it, too, so that's good. And it didn't really have any zombies, so it's good when they can do that, when they can show, that things can be tense without zombies in a post-apocalyptic world with other humans. So, last episode, we got the introduction of Jesus, and if you are not familiar with the comics, you were unaware of his true motivations, his affiliations, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, etc. So, we learned that, he's a good guy. And he's part of this other community called Hilltop. And we see the revelation, how it affects Rick and everyone else, and they learn that they're not the only successful community out there. And the episode starts out with Jesus. They're still apprehensive about him, and they want him to take him to Hilltop. He says he has supplies for trade, that they can build a community to trade with. And they come up to a crashed vehicle on the side of the road, and then we see them go into a building where the survivors of the crash are located at, and we can immediately see that they're not adept at fighting like Rick's group is, as they're cuddled, they're not cuddled, but they're cowering in fear, essentially, and hiding away from just like 4 zombies or whatever, which get slain quite easily by Rick's group. And we learn that one of them is a physician, and they're willing to give prenatal supplies to Maggie. So we can kind of see that, they're probably pretty decent people. They're not bad or whatever. So we see them go to Hilltop. It's centered around a museum. It's like it almost seemed like kind of like a Victorian era mansion kind of deal. And yeah, so we get to meet then Gregory, the leader of the Hilltop community. We see he's kind of a smarmy dick, essentially. He's kind of he's kind of a creeper when it comes to with Maggie. He's trying to hit on her. He can't remember her name. That whole situation was interesting. And we have all these kind of character building moments. We see Maggie, they really want to hammer home this idea that Maggie, is kind of a political individual. She's able to communicate and get what they want. And maybe that's setting something up in the future, perhaps. I will get to that later. And we also see that that maybe Gregory isn't the greatest of guys. He's not willing to really open up trade as of yet. And until something happens. And for some reason, my cat wants to come into my review. But yeah, we get this scene where an individual from the Hilltop community comes in. Apparently that they've been, we hear this Negan character again get mentioned. And we see, what kind of effect he has on individuals, because one of these members of the Hilltop community, whose brother apparently is being held captive there, is willing to attack Gregory with a knife. He stabs him in the stomach, and I believe his name was Ethan, and he gets into a fight, or, Rick comes to stop it, and Rick beats his ass, but ends up getting turned over with Ethan with a knife in his hand to his neck, and in self-defense, Rick, stabs him in the neck and kills him, and, causes a big tensions rise, tempers are flared, and people don't know what to make of it. Rick, he's got his crazy look he always has after a fight. His hair is all wet and he's got blood all over his mouth. He's looking pretty crazy. So I can imagine some of the members of Hilltop like, man, this dude is pretty crazy. We probably shouldn't mess with him. But yeah, so we learn more of this Negan. We learn that essentially they go around to these different communities and demanding tribute because they're a biker gang with, unsavory individuals who are willing to do whatever it takes. They get physical with these communities. They will come in and kill them unless they give them half of everything they own, which is what Hilltop does. They give them half their crops, half of everything, and, it is what it is. And that's when Rick, comes up with the idea that possibly we'll take these guys out for you, but you guys got to do something for us. And that's when Maggie negotiates that they need to give half of everything to them. It's kind of like a one-time fee. They'll take care of this job, and then that will allow this new community to end up flourishing after they give them half of their provisions, and then they can rebuild without threat of Negan. And we also learned that the Hilltop community isn't full of fighters. Like I've said before, we had the people cowering away in the building, and then we saw they had no weapons. They had wooden spears. So once again, we see they're in a position where they kind of have to give half their provisions to Negan, or they will perish. So yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. It's going to set up the confrontation with Negan with Rick's group. There was some interesting character building. We saw Abraham thinking about Sasha, and kind of, I guess he's still in a relationship with Rosita, but yeah, we see him thinking about Sasha while he's engaged with Rosita, to say the least. And we also see also with Abraham, when he was about to kill one of the survivors, he says he saw his dead wife, and when Abraham was getting choked during the confrontation at Hilltop, it was kind of implied that maybe he also saw his family before he died. So yeah, this episode was pretty good. I thought it was full of tension. I thought it was interesting, and yeah. So I give this episode an 8 out of 10. I'm looking forward to seeing the confrontation with Negan and everything that's going to happen for the rest of the season. I think them sticking pretty... I mean, they're converging some storylines, but they're pretty... they're on the right track with the comic books. So we'll see where it goes. So that being said, that is the end of my spoiler review. And now I am getting into comic book spoilers. So if you don't want to hear anything about comic book spoilers, because I think it has going to have ramifications on the show, then yeah, I'm putting up a warning now. Comic book spoilers. So the speculation, I think they were pretty heavy-handed in this episode. They're foreshadowing Glenn's death. We have Maggie being pregnant. That is to add more dramatic punch for when Glenn dies to Negan. Because in the comic books, Negan, they round up Rick's group after there was a scene earlier in the season where Daryl killed all the bikers, but it was kind of like after that scene, Negan caught up with him, but they're waiting. But he grabs the group and he's going to execute one of them by random, and he picks Glenn and he beats him to death with a bat, his bat Lucille, which is a big bat with barbed wire attached to it. And it's a pretty brutal scene, and it's going to affect a lot of things. And the reason why I think they're doing that is because, one, I think the Glenn fake-out death from earlier in the season was to put show watchers in a false sense of security, thinking that Glenn's immortal, and I think it's going to be more dramatic when he does die. And I think why it's Glenn. One, Maggie's pregnant. Like I said, more dramatic punch there. Two, they kept showing him smiling and being happy about the upcoming baby. I mean, that's just saying, hey, you're going to die soon. And three, we're setting up Maggie becoming leader of Hilltop, which is which is after Glenn's death. And I'm pretty sure they're setting up, because they're setting up her and Gregory. Gregory and her have a antagonistic relationship in the books, or in the comic books. And I think they're kind of setting that all up. And I think Glenn is going to die by Negan. Because when you're happy, that's not a good thing. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for that. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, share it across social media, and yeah, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.